Hey everybody, just hanging out with George the Cat. I was just telling him about this episode's guest, Megan Clare. She has a great blog. She's a great writer. It's a really interesting talk. We hit a lot of subjects that I think people don't normally associate with cancer, but it's certainly helpful to me. But anyway, I think George is gonna go back to sleep now or something. Hey guys, my name is Rudy. I'm a brain cancer endurer, survivor, whatever you want to say. Anyway, and this is Brain Cancer Diaries. And this is about my journey to recovery, finding deeper meaning in life, and so forth and so on. I talked to some people about their experience, and I've learned a lot along the way. I hope you learned some things too. Some of it's serious, some of it's fun. But anyway, hopefully it's always interesting.
The number you have dialed has been changed.
When I got diagnosed, all I had ever heard was breast cancer, and so I thought that's what it was. And then when I got the call, they were like, yeah, you have invasive lobular. And I'm like, a what? What is that? What do you mean? And then that's when I discovered there are like 15 different types of breast cancer. I was like, for breast cancer awareness, we're not aware. Because I didn't know any of this.
What were the initial signs? Did you have a lump, or was there something else going on, or how did you go about getting diagnosed?
So for me, I had all these green bruises, these tiny green bruises all over my left leg, my lower left leg, nowhere else. And I'm like, what is happening? And then my hair, I talk a lot about my hair, used to be very, it was to my shoulders, and it was very thick, gorgeous, loved it. And it started falling out, and it got brittle, and the texture changed. And I'm like, you messed with my hair, something's going on. So I kept getting tested, going to an endocrinologist, to my primary, and no one could figure out what it was because we kept doing blood tests. They're like, you're anemic, but not anemic enough for this. You're this, but not that. And so no one could figure it out. And this is like a year of me just constantly going to the doctor. Now, keep in mind, I'd already had a mammogram at 35, and I was told, hey, you're clear, come back when you're 40. So I turned 39, and then I get out of the shower. I'm like, what is this? And then all of a sudden I felt like this huge, it was like a fist. I'm like, what the heck? I don't know where it came from. I swear it was like out of nowhere, but obviously it had been growing. And that called to my primary. I'm like, hey, I feel something. And it's almost like something clicked in her head, because she immediately called for me to get a diagnostic mammogram. I didn't even know there are two types of mammograms. There's like the screening one, and then there's the diagnostic one. I'm like, what the heck is that? And then things just kind of went from there. I had to get chemo, and then I had a lumpectomy. My lymph nodes were not, I did not have any cancer in my lymph nodes, but they did remove the sentinel lymph node. And I had a really great plastic surgeon who worked with my breast cancer surgeon. They're kind of a team. And I really liked the fact that he was like, look, he's like, you're young. Because I was like, chop them off. Because I was under the assumption if you take them off, you'll never get, breast cancer again. Boy, was I wrong. But after that, I had 33 radiation treatments. And those burns are for real.
Yeah. Thinking about on your boobs, wait till you experience it on your brain.
Oh my God, I cannot imagine.
I know you have issues with neuropathy.
My oncologist was like, yeah, when you get on the Taxol, you might feel it, and maybe by your 6th to 8th treatment. Dude, I felt it the first 15 minutes of the first treatment. I can't even really fully describe it. It was like I could feel it from my hands, just like all the way down to my body. It's like this. I could just feel stuff just dying, I guess, essentially. Like it. And I cannot feel the balls of my feet to my toes at all.
And then also, too, I know you've mentioned fibromyalgia.
Yeah, so it took over a year and a half to even officially get the diagnosis of the fibromyalgia, because I was doing okay. I had to get a hysterectomy and oophorectomy, and I don't think. Obviously, I didn't fully comprehend how big.
What's an oophorectomy?
Getting your ovaries out. So hysterectomy is like getting the uterus out, but I got my ovaries, cervix, fallopian tubes. I got everything out that makes me a woman, essentially. All that's gone. I just know that after that major surgery, all of a sudden I started feeling this pain, and it would be radiating and burning. It first started in my lower left back. And I'm like, okay, maybe I'm just still healing, you know. And then it would move. It would shift, and it would go to the other side. And then it would shift and go to my arms or to my legs. And for me, it would just be like radiating pain. And it sometimes burns, sometimes it's dull, but it's like unpredictable. And because I was trying to like keep note of it so I could tell doctors, and they just kept telling me, oh, you're just still healing from all your surgeries and from cancer, you know, you're just going to feel pain. And I'm like, I kind of know my pains, you know, the regular ones. This was like to the point for me to complain about it and speak up about it. It was bad. And then it was starting to affect my sleep. And then it got so bad I was actually crying. And I was like, something isn't right. And I finally, last October, met with a rheumatoid specialist. And he's the one that said, I think you have fibromyalgia. So he did the test that they do with the pressure points and things, that if you would do it on a normal person, they would just feel like a little pressure. But for me, it's like intensified pain. And so once he realized I had like almost every single one of those pressure points, he was like, you've got fibromyalgia. And I'm like, okay, so what does that mean? Can you fix it? And that's when I discovered, oh my God, this is chronic. This is not going away. This is every day. So,
Cancer, the gift that keeps on giving in different ways.
I know, right? I'm like, I'm so over it.
Yeah.
It is a very delicate subject for me because I was told after my cancer diagnosis, hey, you need to have 16 rounds of chemo. Okay, and do you want to freeze your eggs? And it was all in the same breath. And all I heard was chemo and the cancer. I didn't even hear like, oh my God, should I freeze my eggs? Should I even have a conversation? I have, and I'm single. So in my mind, I was like, can we just get the cancer out? I don't want to die. I didn't even think about that. So that kind of makes me sad that there wasn't, a step after I've been told that a nurse maybe would have called later to say, okay, I know that was a lot of information, but just want to double check. Do you want to at least have a consultation? Because I didn't even have a consultation. So I got nothing. I will never be able to have children. And I get mad at people that say, oh, well, you can foster or adopt. And I'm like, people, you're forgetting the operative word. I am single. I'm not doing this by myself. I could barely take care of me and my cat, Nathan. So when I had to get the hysterectomy and oophorectomy, it's because I'm intolerant of a lot of the post-cancer medications for breast cancer to help prevent recurrence. So that's why that had to happen. Is the next step was, okay, I'm intolerant of all the meds pre-menopause. Well, now we need to push me into menopause so I can try the other medications. And so now I didn't realize the emotional toll having that surgery would take on me. So it's things like that that are devastating, and the grieving is palpable and real.
So yeah, that's pretty heavy stuff. So not to bum everybody out too much, but so dating and having cancer, what's that like?
What is it like? I don't know, because I'm not dating. I don't have energy for it, first of all. Like, I've got zero sex drive now that this dang on menopause. I don't feel, it's like, I know I have a pretty face, but this body is not me. All the weight gain, and then I look like a railroad track. I just had my 8th breast cancer related surgery in June of this year, and like, I don't want to be touched. The fibromyalgia, it's painful. I don't want anyone to touch me. So how can I have a date and be, charming and sweet and stuff when I have such heaviness on me. So I don't know if dating is in the cards for me anymore. Life on the cancer train.
And what sort of inspired you to get that going and started and all that?
Well, it was actually November 2017, and it was right before Thanksgiving, and I had been at that time I was just so angry that I couldn't verbalize. And I was like, I'm just going to start a blog. And I did it for me. And that's how I still do it, is for me to gauge my mental and emotional and physical state. And I was like, even if no one else reads it, at least I've gotten the words out, because I was just holding so much in, but I couldn't verbalize it without becoming an emotional mess. So I just started writing. So I just feel like I'm on this train that just keeps going. Sometimes it's foggy. Sometimes it's going on a weird, track or whatever. But I was like, this is my life now. And it kind of made sense to call it Life on the Cancer Train.
One of the posts that really moved me was you were talking about sort of like the subtle and overt racism sometimes in cancer treatment.
I live in Atlanta, Georgia, and we have a cancer support center. And so I was like, oh, because I didn't know anyone else my age that had cancer at that time. And I go in there and I'm filling out the form and I put invasive lobular. And she's like, oh, so are you sure you don't have triple negative? And I'm like, I'm thinking to myself, can she not read my writing? Like I have really, good printing. So I was like, no, I have invasive lobular. Well, are you sure it's not triple negative? And I'm like, okay, what part of no is this woman not getting? And then she says it a third time. And, and this time now I'm getting snappy. And she's like, well, triple negative is most common for, African-American women. And I just looked at her and I said, thanks for, not seeing me as a cancer patient, but seeing me as a Black cancer patient.
Some people watching this might think like, big deal. But, I mean, it is a big deal. It's a very subtle thing, because that's part of sort of like the subtle, I mean, I've lived in every part of this country. There's racism everywhere. It just shows its head in different ways. It rears its ugly head in different ways. Like in California when I lived there, it was like, oh, there's just no Black people in positions, and nobody Black is hired to be the boss. In the South, It's more subtle. It's like in daily language, where it's sort of, a subtle condescension, I think.
Well, I was really upset. And I'm very vocal. And what a lot of, when I posted that piece, because it was a very delicate piece, and but I didn't tell people initially that it was about racism. I just said this was a very sensitive subject. I called it "It's a Troubling World," because I wanted it to be in the cancer support groups online, but not say, hey, this is about cancer and racism, because I knew it would, ruffle some feathers. For me, what I did after that is I called the executive director like a couple of weeks later, because I wanted to double check myself and make sure I wasn't being too sensitive. And I was like, no, I wasn't being too sensitive. I was like, it was insulting, especially when I specifically put what I had and I kept being questioned like I didn't know what I was talking about. Like you mentioned, that condescension as well. So I called the executive director, and of course her first thing out of her mouth was, oh, that woman, she doesn't have a racist bone in her body. She loves everyone, which you hear over and over again when you're a person of color. Of course, that person's never a racist. And so I said, look, I advise you to have some diversity training. I said, to have people learn how to talk to others. I said, because she just immediately assumed, just called me an African American. My mom is biracial. My grandmother's biracial. I come from a mixed family, so the fact that she only saw me as one color anyway was bad enough. But then to just constantly harp on it, oh, well, this isn't your demographic, was really rude. And I said, you need to have some diversity training.
I would say it's more than what they call a microaggression, but it's certainly stronger, because I think it's a lot of people just don't even realize that the way they're thinking, there's just sort of something off in it. Like they don't quite get it. So, but that's, fun living in the South, living everywhere, really.